Whether you love them or hate them, online meetings have become part of the landscape of work and life in 2020. And let's face it, it's likely to stay that way for the foreseeable future. Most of us have accepted this new reality, albeit reluctantly for some, but it's fair to say that Zoom fatigue has also become regular vocabulary for many. Some are resisting online meetings, some are outright refusing them, and others are struggling through, ending their days exhausted and frustrated and longing for a return to the normal that was pre-pandemic. We have a long wait for a time that we can safely return to a world of in-person and boardroom meetings. And even when that time comes, we may find that the world has moved on. Technology, combined with the necessity of the pandemic, has presented an opportunity that previously didn't exist. Workers now have remote working options that previously weren't made available to them, and many are loving that. People who'd previously been told that working from home was impossible, even to accommodate a disability or family responsibilities, are now actually being given the opportunity to prove that not only they can do this, but also that they can be even more productive than before. Whether you view online meetings as a short-ish term stopgap solution just during the pandemic, or whether you view it as a permanent life-changing fixture, learning to live with online meetings has to be part of our agenda. We've been using online meetings at Human Nature Development for many years for remote working, and also to keep in touch with friends and family who are scattered in far off places in the world. So I want to offer some tips for avoiding and dealing with what has lovingly been called Zoom fatigue, so you can begin to feel more positive about connecting with others in the online space. Number 1, start with some self-reflection. If you dislike online meetings, ask yourself why that is. What irks you? And then what's behind that? For instance, the obvious reason for hating Zoom might be that you can't make direct eye contact, or you hate sitting in front of a screen all day, or using the tech is difficult, or whatever. Underneath the obvious, though, actually might be something a bit deeper. So, for example, attending an online meeting that used to be in the boardroom can be a reminder of what you've lost. And being reminded of something you've lost has emotional consequences. It's hard to accept something you didn't want, especially when you actually liked what you had before. It was familiar, it was comfortable, because you need to let go of what you had before in order for the acceptance to happen. Loss is difficult. Loss often means a grieving process of some sort. It's okay to feel feelings, even about something as supposedly trivial as an online meeting. Change is hard. Even if it's change you actually want, it's hard. So be kind to yourself as you work towards accepting the idea of online meetings in your life. Number 2, if you feel uncomfortable being on video, you are not alone. And full disclosure here, I spent 3 years at acting school, honing my craft and preparing myself for a career on stage and screen. And at the end of that 3 years, I was still uncomfortable as on camera, which might sound weird, but what I eventually figured out was that I remained uncomfortable because I had avoided the chances to practice being on screen, the chances to stretch my comfort zone by stepping out of it. And that's a very human thing, because we like to stay comfy as much as we possibly can. But the important thing for the average Zoom meeting participant is this: it is not like being on TV. So unlike me in my previous life as an actor, or even now making this video for you, your performance in a Zoom meeting is not being scrutinized and criticized. Zoom, Teams, Skype, and all the rest of them, they are merely tools that allow you to connect visually with other humans. And if you're okay being in a room with other people, There's nothing really more to fear about the camera in front of you. Think of it like a window, which lets the other people see you and you see them. And remember that the other people in the meeting like to see your face. It's not the same as being in the same room as somebody, obviously, but it still provides visual cues that make communication more meaningful. So don't be afraid to let them see your face. Number 3, be mindful of your energy budget. Online meetings may feel more draining than in-person meetings. And if that's the case for you, schedule yourself with that in mind. Avoid back-to-back meetings wherever you can. Spread them out and do energy replenishing activities in between. Take fresh air, movement, or nutrition breaks in between meetings. Think about it this way. If you were previously moving to different rooms or locations between meetings, then the fresh air or movement breaks were a natural part of your day that were already built in, and those will have helped you replenish your energy. If you previously had a commute, but now your path to work is like a short walk from your bedroom down the hall, then you might actually be missing that opportunity to set your brain going while you drive in, or to take a moment for yourself as you enjoy the coffee you bought that you picked up on the way. Your end of day routine may also be missing that built-in decompression time that you had on the drive home. The things that we miss aren't always obvious, but they may be an important factor in having an effective day. So once you identify them, you can create new ways of building them into your day with intention. Think about what your typical day looked like pre-pandemic and include those trivial bits and pieces, the water cooler chat, commuting, changing locations or environments through the day, visits to coffee shops, that kind of thing. Then think about how you could intentionally replace some of that activity in your new working setup. A quick check-in call with a colleague while you have a coffee in your house, walking around your backyard between meetings, or journaling before you start work to replace that quiet alone time that you had on your commute to work. Number 4, avoid unnecessary meetings. Honestly, this is advice for life in general, and it applies just as much to in-person meetings as it does to online ones. If you can deal with it in a quick phone call or an email, then it doesn't need to be a whole Zoom performance. Likewise, avoid inviting people who don't really need to be there. Everyone hates being dragged into something that they're not really needed for. Again, this is advice for effective meetings in general. So be mindful and avoid any meeting practices that happen just for the sake of it. Number 5, always use good meeting etiquette. This makes meetings better for everyone. So here are my golden rules for meeting etiquette. Don't multitask ever. It may be tempting when you're on your computer and a notification pops up, or when the other participants can't actually see your phone off to the side, but don't do it. Not only is it rude, but it also drains your own energy faster if your focus is scattered between several tasks. Always listen to the person talking. And don't talk or make noise over others. Mute your mic if you need to and avoid interrupting, because it can play havoc with the sound in online meetings, which makes it exhausting for everybody. So instead, keep a pen and paper handy and make a note of anything you'd like to say so you can raise your point when the other person has finished speaking. Avoid side conversations using private chat. This is multitasking, and it means you're definitely not listening to the person who's talking. So if there's something that you want to talk to someone about, make a note of it and talk to them about it after the meeting has finished. Keep your attention on the meeting at hand and have a separate conversation afterwards. Number 6, keep meetings on time and on track. Start on time, finish on time, and have an agenda. Appointing someone as a facilitator is especially helpful to make sure that you keep on track and that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, particularly in meetings with a larger number of people. You can appoint a second person to take notes and to keep an eye on the clock. Now, Gino Wickman's Level 10 meeting, which he describes in his book Traction, is a really helpful template to follow here. I would highly recommend that. Number 7, celebrate working from home. Forget the idea that you're trying to reproduce what you had before in the office in your home setting. It's different, and that's okay. You may be juggling kids and pets, and that's okay too. A few years ago, this amazing interview happened on BBC News. Notice the poor guy's awkwardness and his wife's horror when she realizes what's happened.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me.
That's all right, carry on.
My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year.
Those of us who worked from home at the time this happened knew their pain, the awfulness of having your image as a highly professional expert in your field tarnished by this joyful swagger of your tiny child as she exposes your real and mostly imperfect life as a parent and a spouse. But now, we no longer have to pretend that our lives outside of work don't exist. Suddenly, working from home, with all its imperfection, has become the new normal. And we shouldn't have to apologize or feel shame for having a life alongside work. And we shouldn't have to hide it in order to be seen as professional. We're all in this together. Kids, pets, no makeup faces, messy backgrounds. This is a real life. Let's celebrate it. Number 8, above all, remember that the person or people you are talking to are real humans, and that Zoom, FaceTime, Teams, and whatever else are merely tools that allow you to connect with them when in-person connection is not possible. Humans need other humans. We're social animals, and that makes this pandemic truly challenging for all of us. But we have this gift of technology that allows us to create connection in a way that even 20 years ago wouldn't have been possible. Instead of seeing this tech as an obstacle to the in-person, face-to-face connection that you're missing, reframe it as a tool for making the otherwise impossible possible. If you'd like help making your meetings more effective or creating a better balance or boundaries for yourself as you navigate your new normal, please reach out. It's what I do, and I'm here to help. I'm Liz Wooten from Human Nature Development, and you can find me at humannaturedevelopment.com.